We show some drills for training groundwork in your wrestling martial arts. This is the Kitsune-Klan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed. Groundwork is an important part of many wrestling related martial arts, especially Judo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which you could consider a subtype of Judo, but both again can be considered subtypes of Jiu-Jitsu. Complex, in any case, they deal with groundwork. There are generally four basic holds on the ground differentiated in both of these styles that are commonly trained. There are many more, but these four are seen as a major basic. We will show you here that the four holds can be simply trained within some useful drills, and we will introduce these drills, but we will also show that there can be in fact further differentiated into more than four holds. So we've already seen the first sequence here of 8 holds. This whole sequence starts from the head with a form that is called Kami-Shiho-gatame. Shiho means 4 directions and refers to 4 different holds: Kami-Shiho-gatame, Yoko-Shiho-gatame, and Tate-Shiho-gatame. That's only 3. Why it's 4? Yeah, Yoko-Shiho-gatame means holding from the side, and people generally consider both sides, so that's why it's 4. Kami-Shiho-gatame is holding from the head side. Tate-Shiho-gatame is often referred also to as a mount position because you sit on the opponent. All these 4 positions or holds are with your belly facing downwards. There are other holds that you could just see here in between these 4 types of holds. These are usually referred to with a single term, Kesa-gatame. The body is a bit twisted, so you're pressing down with one of your shoulders, but your feet are reversed compared to the Shiho positions, which means your belly would like to face up, but as your shoulder is pressing down to the ground, your overall body is twisted. Anyway, basically your belly would be up. With the Shiho positions, your belly would be down. So if we now walk through this drill, we start with Kami-Shiho-gatame, then we switch the legs. With this we get into a Kesa position. To be precise, Gyaku-Kesa-gatame or Oshiro-Kesa-gatame. Then we come into Yoko-Shiho-gatame, then another form of Gyaku-Kesa-gatame, then Tate-Shiho-gatame, then a form of Kesa-gatame. Then would be a kind of Yoko-Shiho-gatame, but if you look close, you're not pressing onto the belly or the upper body, but more onto the head. This can be described as a so-called Kata-gatame. The term is not very precise because Kata-gatame can also describe a special hold or special version of the Kesa-gatame. And then there's a final type of Kesa-gatame that is usually not used very often because it's a bit dangerous and it's also not so good for holding, but to fulfill the sequence we have a second type of Kesa-gatame here. Now you have seen we already switched the grip. I've not talked about that yet, so we'll do that now. In the first sequence we started out with a Nelson type lever on the neck when we were in Kami-Shiho-gatame, and in the end we had something like a side headlock for the Kesa-gatame. We can reverse this. We can start out with a reverse or side headlock position, and as we walk around we end up in a Kesa-gatame that has a Nelson type neck hold. The second version is a bit strange at first and it's a bit more complex. The first version will be the normal one. Also, if you train these drills, you can not only walk in one direction, but you can also walk backwards. So you can start with the Hon Kesa-gatame, so the normal Kesa-gatame, and then walk backwards until you end up in Kami-Shiho-gatame. So you've seen we've not talked too much here about specificities of these holds. Why? because they're usually commonly known. What we want to stress here is the connection between these 8 types of holds, and especially, and that's the difference to many other training drills, there's no change in the way you hold the opponent. As I just explained, you start out with a Nelson and then end in a side headlock, but basically the arm holding the head of the opponent is not moving. So you keep the same grip while you walk around. That means there's less danger that you lose the grip. Therefore, this is a very effective sequence, not only for training, but it also shows you techniques that can be combined when necessary. So if you have the opponent in one hold and due to the opponent struggling in the one or other direction, you have to move, that does not mean you have to give up the hold on the head. You can basically make a full walk around without changing the grip. Also, what's different from a lot of drills that I've seen, the change between the Shiho and the Kesa positions makes moving very easy because your legs basically perform a type of scissor walk, always once facing down, once facing up. Just to give you something more to train, here comes another drill that employs more or less the same holds. We start out in Kesa-gatame. And now, one way when the opponent starts to struggle can be to lean back into Kuzure-Kesa-gatame. A lot of people don't like this hold because it's rather high, but it makes the head of the opponent accessible for the feet. So I can swing my left leg over and end up in a type of Kami-Shiho-gatame that differs from the one we had before. From there, I can go into a Yoko-Kesa-gatame and then also do the same thing that we just learned. We lean back. So we switched before from head to upper body. Now we are at upper body. We switch to head. And now upper body again has space. We can swing up the leg. We come to Tate-Shiho-gatame. And from here, we can switch again into the Kesa-gatame from the start. And the drill is fixed. So we have in this case 6 positions that we can infinity loop if we like to. So we have now 3 basic drills with which we can train the basic types of holds on the ground, and especially we have transitions, how to get from one to the other in a controlled way. This is all just a starting point for all the more complex stuff on the ground, like arm bars, levers, or different types of neck holds, although some were already incorporated. So this is a starting point. We will continue with further exploring these aspects, but we already hope this gave you some inspiration. See you around next time.